Hey guys, just giving a little update on the MAME cab. It's been a while since I put a video up, probably about a month, on the progress of the MAME cab. But I've been buying lots of things to get the project done. I haven't had really a lot of time to actually work on the project. I did finish completely stripping the cabinet, got the artwork off the side. There's a little bit of adhesive residue, and I'm using a little bit of this stuff here, Goof Off, to get that off, and most of it's coming off. I just haven't had actually time to really work on the cabinet itself that much. But I've been getting the stuff I need. Bought me a new trim router here, and been wanting a router for a long time. I've got several power tools, but never owned a router. I've used some before in the past for different things, like if you actually look right there, making my own base molding here in the house that we built. That right there mainly, except for the little decorative piece in the corner. I made my own base molding, and this house has a lot of wood in it. Being a log cabin on the lower story, I just kind of stayed with the theme of that, even on some of these painted walls, and just kept natural wood, and used a router to kind of, use some natural wood planks and just make my own routing and make the base molding and stuff like that. But it's been a few years since I've done that and put all that up. But I always like routers, and this is just a trim router. It's not a full-size router, so you can kind of use this with just one hand if you want to. But it got really great reviews, and I ended up getting it from Home Depot. You could order it online, and they gave you a free sander with it for, I think it was about $100. And if you spent, I think, maybe $10 cheaper, you got just the router. And they never had it in stock when I kept trying to get the sander with it, so finally I just got the router itself and just got it from a local store. It was the same price, so found one in stock there and picked it up. And comes with a soft carrying case and a few guides and an extra base, a square base, and it comes with a round base installed. And it has a flush trim router bit with it, and that saved me about $10 to $20 because those bits cost a little bit, for a flush trim bit. And that should do exactly what I need for the laminate. And got some other things I need. Be making a control panel, so I've got some wood glue there for putting some of the small parts together, and I'll probably use some maybe finished nails or something like that to help put that together too, and some screws. Got a couple of cans of contact cement, and that'll be used for the laminate, putting that on the side of the cabinet. Got 2 cans of that. Make sure I've probably got a little more than enough, but I know it would take a little more than 1 can because you have to put it on both the laminate and on the cabinet itself before you put them together. And got some wooden dowels here. These might be a little small in diameter, but I think they'll do what I need. And you need to lay those out, every few inches, maybe every half foot or something before you position the laminate, because once the adhesive makes contact from the laminate and the wood side, it's going to bond permanently, and you use that to kind of give you a little bit of leeway to kind of move it around and get it in the proper space before you slide them out, and then kind of press down on the laminate, and that should make a good bond forever, basically. Right here, got a new Fluorescent Light kit, and I had went and bought one that was similar to the one that came out of there. It had the one that came out of there, I actually found out was working. Somebody had the switch inside flipped off, but it was really made to be a fluorescent kit to go under like somebody's cabinets in the kitchen or something, and it had a little diffuser over it and a switch, and somebody had just put it in that cabinet aftermarket. Well, this is more the kind of the industrial look, if I can get it open. Right there, kind of a little more of the industrial look to it, and it came with a fluorescent tube. And this is not the fat fluorescent tubes. Can't remember what they're called. T8s maybe. This uses I think it's called a T5 bulb. It's a little smaller. I think it uses slightly less energy, but puts out probably just as much or a little more light as the original tubes. And I kind of like the style of it. It looked kind of like a factory type replacement for an arcade cabinet. I will have to do my own wiring for this, but there's no switch on it, which I liked because I wanted it to come on when I get the whole cabinet wired, so it all come on at one time. And the other unit that I had first bought, it was only like $13 at Lowe's, and it had the larger type tube but it had like extra plastic on it that made it a little wider, and it had a diffuser, and I was going to take the diffuser off anyway. And then I seen this at Home Depot, and this was only $18 for the entire thing with the bulb. And the other kit was, like I said, like $13, but it just didn't really look like what I wanted this to look. So I priced it at Lowe's a similar unit to this, but they didn't have one with the small bulbs, the small fluorescent tubes. They had the larger fluorescent tubes, and you had to buy that separate from the actual fixture. And the fixture was like 15 bucks, and the fluorescent tube was $7 or $8. And I said, well, this is cheaper, you know, than buying that, and it, you know, I like the look of it better. So that's what I ended up getting for replacing the light behind the marquee. And right here, got a little wiring here. I'm not sure if this was alarm wiring, sprinkler wiring, or what it was, but it has 4 conductors in it. I think it's about an 18 gauge wire, maybe 16 gauge, I'm not sure. I'm just estimating there, but it has stranded copper in it. It has 4 different colors, has green, red, black, and white, and it's got a shield in there too, which I'll probably just strip out, and a little bit of a foil. But I just got that instead of getting hookup wire online. This looks like it might do what I need for the control panel, and I only got about 15 foot of it, but it's got 4 strands, and you know, if I need more of it, I can go back locally and get it pretty cheap. It's like something like 50 cents a square foot, I think. Might be a little cheaper than that, but I'll use that for wiring on my control panel. You might be wondering what in the world does he have a rolling pin for? Well, this is a rolling pin I actually borrowed from a friend. I told him what I was doing, and I could not find a J roller that you're supposed to use to put pressure on your laminate when you put it on. And I looked at Home Depot, I looked at Lowe's, and I looked at Ace locally, and none of them had it, even though they had the adhesive and they had laminate you could order and everything. And I said, well, I don't know how I'm going to do that. So what I done first was at a local Ace, I bought this small paint roller. What I was going to do was just get a large wooden dowel and just try to drill a hole as centered as possible and replace this piece right here with a wooden dowel and put some type of a nut or something on the end to hold it on, and just use it to put pressure on the laminate to make sure it adhered well. And you can just use your hands, but you know, I wanted to use something that was going to put a good bit of pressure per square inch, and you know, just be kind of uniform, you know, to make it adhere well. And this was only like $2.50, and I said, well, I'll modify that somehow, because I couldn't find a J roller which looks identical to this, but you know, on this end, you know, it's like a real hardened rubber roller, I believe. At least that's what it looks like when I looked at it online, and none of them had it in stock. The closest I could find was, I think it was Home Depot, had a roller that was made to do the same thing for some type of floor laminate, and it was huge. It had a telescoping handle, and it was 2 or 3 times as wide as it needed to be, and it was $30-something, and that was just too expensive for my use. And my friend mentioned this. He said, hey, you know, he said, what about a rolling pin? I said, you know, I said, if I don't put too much pressure on it and break it, I said, that'd probably work pretty good. So he let me borrow that, and I said, I'll try it. And let's see, just got me an El Cheapo brush here just to put the adhesive on. Probably be one-time use. I probably won't even clean it after this project. I'll probably just throw it away, but it was probably like $1 or $2. And luckily I had a hole saw. This will be used for mounting the trackball that I've purchased, and this is, I think, about a 3 1/4 inch hole saw, I think, something like that. It actually doesn't have anything on it telling the size. I bought it in the package, and the size was on the package and everything, and I think I had to buy the bit for the inside to make the pilot hole or whatever. I've had this for several years now, and I got it for plumbing, running some drain pipe, and bought that locally at Ace. I think I had to do some drains for some toilets downstairs when I redid a toilet floor, and it ended up being about the perfect size for the trackball that I ended up getting. And let's see, right here we've got my special order laminate. I went and looked at some sample laminate at the local Lowe's, and this is made by Formica, and it's a black matte finish Formica laminate. It's the code number on it is 909-58 if anybody else wanted to use this same style. And it may be a little thick. Some people said you could get a vertical grade that was thinner, but they didn't have that. At least it wasn't listed in their system as that. If they have it, the person that I dealt with didn't know what it was, and it wasn't listed in the computer saying anything about a vertical grade. So I said, well, this to me is like 1/32 of an inch thick. It's very thin, and I said, you know, I can't see that being a problem, you know, when I go to install my T-molding. You know, if I'm off by 1/32 of an inch, you know, hopefully it won't cause, you know, any kind of problems. It won't look too bad. I mean, if there's a slight edge sticking out that doesn't look black like the side of the cabinet, or if it doesn't match the color of the T-molding, you know, I'll take the T-molding off and I'll either paint the edge of it black or do something to help mask that, you know. But I think the width, the way it's going to turn out, is going to match pretty well. But they had kind of a different black that you could get through Formica, and can't remember the name of it, but had a little more sheen to it. Seemed like it was called Sparkle, I think, and that was like close to twice the price of this, just for it being, you know, a little glossier, and I couldn't see paying that. So what I ended up getting here, it comes in a large box. I had to wait for it to be shipped. Took about 6 days maybe, and they had it in, and it comes in this box. Let's see if I can get it open here. Comes in this box. Got a little styrofoam on one end. And inside, they roll your laminate up. It's about 3 foot in width, the piece that I got, and it's about 12 foot in length. And I got it like that on purpose so that I could cut it into 2 separate pieces, 6 foot long, and that should be enough to do each side of the cabinet. And should have a little bit left over after I do my cuts, so that I can, you know, maybe add a little additional to the sides of the control panel, or, you know, some extra little places that I might need to cover that I'm not going to paint or put artwork on. And it just comes rolled up. It's got some type of cardboard band around it to keep it in a roll, and then it's got another piece of styrofoam at the bottom. Now it's packed really well. And like I said, you special order it. I think for this little roll, 3 foot by 12 foot, I think it was about $68 plus tax. I think that's how much it was, and I thought that was really affordable to me. I mean, it's like, you know, 35 bucks per side, you know, except for the cost of your adhesive and your work put into it and everything. And then here I got a half sheet, you would say, of plywood. Most building sheets and stuff you get to be about 4 by 8 sheets, 4 foot by 8 foot. That's what most people would use for flooring in a house, or roof decking, stuff like that. And this is just a lot more easier to manage. It costs a little bit more for the amount of wood you get when you buy it in smaller sheets like this. This 4x4 sheet was $20-something. I can't remember exactly, but it's almost 3/4 of an inch thick. It's 23/32 of an inch thick. And the reason I got that was I measured the original plywood that's on the cabinet that I'm using, and that's as close as I could get to a measurement. It looked like 23/32. And with the laminate, it's very close to 3/4 of an inch. I actually took the cabinet as it sits now in the next room, and I put this laminate on top of the edge. And even with the current slot that's cut out for the T-molding on it, it looks like this is going to be a perfect match for 3/4 inch T-molding, with this applied over the old red laminate without tearing it off. Just, you know, I'm going to braze it some, and I'm going to glue this straight to the original red laminate. And then, you know, I've ordered a slot cutting bit, a 16-inch slot cutting bit, and the arbor for it and all to go on my new trim router. And should be able to put a groove in here for the new T-molding, and do this exactly like the rest of the cabinet, and use the same color T-molding all after I build my new control panel after this. So, you know, out of this. So this should be plenty of wood to build a control panel, and still have a little bit of scrap left over. I'll probably need that for some monitor bracing or support, and maybe a few other little things I do. I might have to buy another sheet similar to this, but this was pre-sanded. I think that makes it a little bit more expensive. I guess they've sanded it some before, you know, they send it, you know, from the factory to be sold. I don't think that made a real big difference in the thickness of it, you know. If so, I think I measured it and it does come up to 23/32 thick. But I got the nicest looking sheet that I could, that didn't have hardly any cracks or dings in the wood. And any large piece of wood like this steel, though, there's going to be a little bit of bowing in it. I notice you probably can't tell just looking down through it, but there's a very, very slight bow to it, just where it's been setting up, just like it is now, vertical in a stand there at the Lowe's, and it had lots of other sheets beside it. And just the way they get packed in there, the way that they're stored and all that, there'll be a little bit of warping in the individual pieces of wood that are laminated together. Some of them might expand or contract at different rates slightly, and it'll cause a little bit of bowing or warpage or something of it. They say MDF doesn't do that. You don't have to worry about that, but to me, I don't know. I feel like this is real wood, and the cabinet was made mostly out of plywood, and I'd like to stick with that, except for the back panels. I think that was MDF, and maybe the very top of the cabinet's made out of a piece of MDF, but I just thought I'd really like to use plywood again. And once you cut this down into smaller pieces, if it looks like there is a bow over the entire sheet of wood, the smaller pieces that you cut out of it, it'll be a lot less obvious, and it'll affect your project a lot less once the pieces are cut, the smaller pieces. But see, that's most of the building type materials that I got right now for the main cabinet. And got pretty excited when this came in. This only took, probably 3 days or so, and this came all the way from England. DHL Express, never dealt with them. They required a signature, but luckily the little old lady that lives across the street was home, and she signed for it and hung on to it until I got home from work a few days ago. Oops, dropped some of it. But this is from Ultimarc. Everybody would recognize the Ultimarc symbol. And this is my new trackball. And this is a new style trackball Ultimarc is offering. It's one of the best ones out there right now, I believe. It's made specifically for dealing with lots of the headaches that come from trying to mount a trackball inside of a wooden control panel. And I think they designed it from the ground up. It's called a U-TRAK. I think it comes in 3 different colors. This is called Pearl, and it's made so that you can backlight it. You can backlight it with an LED kit they sell, or you can probably install your own LEDs, which is what I'm going to try to do, to light up right back here at this hole, I believe. And I haven't taken it much out of the bag to look at it just to check that it looked like it wasn't broken. But I think you light it from back here, and you get some pretty bright LEDs, and depending on what color you light it with is what color your trackball will illuminate in. Now, if it's not powered up, it's going to look like this, kind of an off-white color, slightly transparent white. But once you get that kit installed, if you have red joysticks and buttons, or blue joysticks and buttons, or just whatever color you'd like to illuminate it in, green or whatever, you can light the trackball up and it's going to reflect that color. That right there is a small circuit board that hooks up with this little kit of wiring, hooks to 2 other connectors that come straight off the trackball, and that makes this compatible with USB, so you can hook it right into a computer. Should be recognized as a USB device. And came with a mini USB cable, and the mini USB side connects to that little circuit board right on top there. The mini USB connects in there, and the other end connects to your computer. Standard USB port, turns it into a USB device, and then you have mounting hardware. Came in the box, got 4 bolts, and you got some threaded pieces that install. I believe you install those into the wood, so you probably have to pre-drill some small holes and then tap those into place. And then you have like a 3 to 3 1/4 inch hole. I think it's going to be around a 3 1/4 inch hole for mounting this underneath the control panel. And when you mount it underneath there, the bolts will go up through. Let's see if I can get it. Maybe I can get it in some light here. There's 4 holes right in the center of the camera. If you can see, there's one right there. In the center of the camera is one right there. It's 4 at a location at almost like at each corner. Couldn't really say corners, but the other holes you see just holding the 2 pieces of plastic together. But there's 4 that you run the bolts up through, and then they mount to the underside of your wood panel. But I was excited to get that. And let's see. Also in the bag, piece of tape on it holding it on. There we go. In the bag also, this is a VGA breakout cable, and that's for my arcade VGA card. This end right here is going to plug into the VGA card itself, and the other end is compatible with Wells Gardner monitors. I don't know if you can see through that bag. Let me just take it out right quick. Okay. There we go. Right there it is. The one end is compatible with a 15-pin connection on most VGA video cards, and this would be used for the one off the arcade VGA that puts out the 15 kilohertz mode for arcade monitor. And then on the other end, it's compatible with plugging into your input section on your Wells Gardner monitor, and it's got your red, green, blue, and ground, and your sync wires all connected up, and it's the standard for Wells Gardner. And with this cable and that particular monitor, and using the arcade VGA card, whoops, dropped the cable, you shouldn't need an amplifier or anything. They say that the power that comes off of the Ultimarc arcade VGA card is enough by itself to power a Wells Gardner monitor. Now, if you had a different type of monitor that wasn't a Wells Gardner, then you'd need a video amp, and they sell those products too. And I think some people have actually made their own, because you'll get kind of a dim display if you don't have a Wells Gardner and you try to use this type of setup, you know. But I could have made my own, and I didn't want to have to like buy the separate connectors and all that. And all this would really be was just, I mean, you could cut a cord off of a VGA monitor. That's all that cord is in the end. But just to get the correct connector on the end and get it wired and everything, it was going to be just a little bit of a headache. And this cable was like, I don't know, $14–15. And I said, shoot, I'm already ordering the U-TRAK trackball, so I'm just going to go ahead and get this at the same time, and not have any headaches with that. But we're on about 22 minutes now. This is becoming a long video, so I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Haven't really done that much to show you on the cabinets up tearing off the side art. I think I've already shown that I took the old T-molding off and took the guts out of it and everything. I think maybe I took the coin mix out of it since the last video, but I didn't really want any coin mix. I'm just going to have buttons for, you know, putting in credits. I don't care about coin mix. I know it looks kind of, you know, arcade original, but I mean, I know it's a MAME machine, and you know, I would rather just have buttons, you know, and not deal with the coin mix myself. Maybe I'll add that later. It's something I could always come back and, you know, cut out in the cabinet and add later. But hopefully the next video, within the next week or two, I'll be doing a little modification to the cabinet, getting the laminate on and stuff, and maybe I'll show you a little bit of that process. And until later, thanks for watching.